what a day! What a lovely day!
How about another joke, Moran?
I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you?
Captain.
God's righteous man.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
Tell me. Do you bleed?
Check out the big brain on bread.
Very, very exciting.
That's a lot of fish.
What is going on, guys? Skip from 41 here, and welcome to our first official movie review. I am going to try to keep this as short and sweet as possible because I already know myself. I can go off on a tangent and talk about this movie all day. I've got my notes right here, so let's go ahead and get into the review. First, I'm going to talk about the negatives first because honestly, there's not that many to talk about. My first negative in this movie is honestly, it's a negative, but it's also a positive from the 2017. It's better than the 2017 because the Flash has more to do in this movie, but it's a negative because I'm still not a fan of the character. And I love the Flash. The Flash is one of my favorite superheroes. He's honestly like he's definitely top 3. He's top 3 favorite superheroes. But I don't know if it's Ezra Miller, his performance, or just the way the character is written, but I'm not a fan of how he always seems to have to get a joke off. Like it doesn't fit the universe. That's my thing. As I don't mind him having to get the jokes off all the time if it fit the universe. If this was the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it would make sense. But this is a very dark, gritty universe, and he just feels out of place. That was my first negative. My second negative is Aquaman, because he's such a cool character that he's so underutilized in this movie, and especially for it being 4 hours long, I feel like in that 4 hours, if they would have cut out the 15 to 20 minutes that they used on that nightmare sequence that honestly we didn't really need, because you know it's teasing something that's probably never going to come to fruition, because I think, like I said before, I think this universe is dead. It's honestly a dead universe. They're going to have to start over from scratch. But if they just would have took that 15 to 20 minutes that they used on that and used it on scenes where they created some depth, they didn't even have to create depth to Aquaman. Is if they would have gave some of that time to the character of Aquaman, I think we could have got a way better character and seen him do a little bit more in this movie than he actually did. I don't dislike the character. I do like the character. His movie was pretty good. Even though I haven't watched it since I saw it in theaters, but I feel like he could have done a lot more in this movie. And honestly, those are my only 2 negatives. If you want to call like Martian Manhunter a negative, I wouldn't necessarily call that a negative. I'd say that was like neutral, because he didn't really have a place in this movie. He didn't do anything in this movie. He didn't have to be in the movie. But let's move over to the positives. My first positive is Cyborg. How could you not talk about Cyborg? He is probably the best part of this movie. His character was fleshed out so beautifully in this movie, especially those scenes where he's listening to the tape recorder and you know he's seeing all the stuff that he's able to do. And this is where the hero is made for me, because he sees he can launch nukes. He's angry. He's an angry character, and you saw it a lot in the 2017 version. He's like an angry teenager. But in this movie, he sees all the stuff he can do. But what does he decide to do? He decides to help a struggling mother who's working, you know, jobs to try to pay her bills. He decides to help her out by putting some extra money in her account, because he can do that. He doesn't try to put all the money into his account or, you know, other people he knows account. He helps a woman that he doesn't even know. He sees her struggling. He decides to help her. I really think Cyborg was an excellent character. It sucks that Joss Whedon basically took all that character development from us, and I see why Ray Fisher was so pissed off. over the last year, about that movie, I would be pissed off too. Second thing, Steppenwolf. Steppenwolf was so much better in this movie. One, he doesn't look like a cartoon character. He didn't have dead eyes. I feel like the design was way better, and he had motivations in this movie. That's what you need from characters, especially villains, is motivations. Why are they doing what they are doing? And we see they don't 100% explain it to us, but you can kind of put it together, especially if you have some prior DC knowledge. Steppenwolf did something. He betrayed Darkseid. He's exiled from his home. He feels that if he takes Earth, especially after he finds out the anti-life equation is on Earth, that if he takes this world down in Darkseid's name, he'll be able to go home. Who doesn't want to go home? He can't go back home. He's trying to be able to win over Darkseid, get on his good side so he can go home. I think those are really good. Something as simple as that is a really good motivation for a character, and he's not just a big bad guy who just wants to destroy things. So much better than the 2017 version, where I hated Steppenwolf. Next, the stupid Batman Wonder Woman feud that was in the 2017 one that honestly lasted 10 minutes of screen time, most likely. That it was just like trying to cause team tension just for the sake of doing it, just because, the Avengers had team tension. So of course the Justice League had to have team tension. It had no place in the movie. I'm glad that it's actually gone now that we know that it was a Joss Whedon scene. I'm glad that's gone. That was so stupid. Batman had nothing to gain from that, so I don't even know. It just had no place in the movie. Lois Lane, perfect in this movie. You want to know why? Because she was barely in it. Lois Lane got on my nerves so much in Batman vs Superman that I never wanted to see the character again. I'm glad that she's barely in the movie. I know she's important to the Superman story. Excuse me, but I was so glad she's not important. Honestly, she wasn't that important to this movie story, except for, calming Clark down when he was fighting the rest of the league after he's revived. That's another thing that's a lot better. The Superman revival scene, so much better, infinitely better in this movie than the regular one. The length of the movie I felt like was a little long, but it's on HBO Max. Give us everything you got. And honestly, those are most of the things that I did want to talk about this movie. Darkseid didn't really do much in this movie, but I did really love the backstory that they gave when Darkseid first came to Earth. Of course, in the 2017 version, it was Steppenwolf. This time, in how it was supposed to be Darkseid had come to Earth to try to conquer the Earth and lost to the tribes of men, the Atlanteans, the Amazons, the Lantern, and the old gods. So really love the backstory. I like that was a little bit more in depth than it was in the original. Overall, I will give this movie a B+. It is not the greatest superhero movie ever created. It's not better than Man of Steel, and it's not better than Batman vs Superman, in my opinion. 73% of people, of critics, like this version. They rated it fresh, as opposed to 40% that like the original. Even the fan score is always a lot higher than the critic score. Usually they were at 71%. They're at 96% on this one. So people like it. I give it a B+. If you guys haven't watched it, please, well, first of all, if you haven't watched it, you shouldn't be watching this video because there's some spoilers in here. But if you did watch to this point, make sure you like and subscribe, or dislike, whichever one you felt, but make sure you subscribe and make sure you hit that bell for notifications so that you know when I post my next movie review or sneaker video. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.